I am here today with Kaylene Widdoes and Lauren Seveney of Goldthread. Goldthread is an alternative dark pop band, and we're going to talk about that description out of Akron, Ohio. A little bit about Kaylene and Lauren. Kaylene holds an MBA in digital marketing from Youngstown State University and has been a tour manager since 2014, overseeing multiple national tours and hundreds of dates. She is going to be on the road with Plush as their tour manager. So that is pretty exciting. Really exciting. I so envy you. Kaylene is also the singer and songwriter for Goldthread. Lauren is the guitar player for Goldthread and keyboard player, and she is also a songwriter for the band. So, Lauren holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from Malone University. Goldthread has released a video for the single Tiffany Skylight, which hits home for me with that beautiful Chicago video.
Nice.
Well, you will definitely talk about that, which has reached more than 50,000 people already. And Dear Icarus, the band's debut EP, is available wherever you listen to music. And again, thanks for being here, man. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk about that alternative dark pop band. Are you guys comfortable with that?
Yeah, honestly, we
genres are so hard.
I know genres are so hard because they're so fluid and you can fit into so many different boxes these days. And every song can fit into so many different boxes, and it's hard because I've always felt like we don't really fit into like rock, like what's considered like classic rock or even alternative rock,
radio rock.
Yeah, radio rock.
Right.
And we're not necessarily pop, because pop is like, I normally associate that with very happy, bouncy, mainstream radio kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been kind of a weird thing to try to classify what our music sounds like.
And, I mean, you don't really have to. It's Goldthread, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. It is what it is.
Yeah, it sure is. And it's really cool. It's really interesting. It's poetic. It's got a lot of different facets that I think a lot of people will enjoy. You have college degrees. I read that in the description for you guys in the introduction. You guys are intelligent people. It's obvious with your resumes, but also with your music. You put a lot of stress on lyricism and a deeper meaning. The songs go a little further than some other bands might. Do you feel like that education that you have, which is, higher education, do you feel like that's influenced your music?
I think so. So I studied psychology, and a lot of the times I tell people that I sat around and wrote papers about my feelings for a couple of years, but
that would help with music.
Right? It's more than that though, because I feel like it kind of teaches you how to think, and it teaches you how to look at things through different lenses and different eyes. So especially when it comes to lyrics, I kind of treat that as my therapy and as an outlet. And I try to, when songs are really personal, I try to make sure that I'm pushing, finding a way to like describe my experience the best way I can. Or if it's a song that doesn't have anything to do with us, like Tiffany Skylight, trying to really look at it from a bunch of different angles and tell a story in the most interesting way I think we can.
Yeah.
And it kind of just, getting to the heart of a song. I think that's really important for us. And that's at least something that I'm informed by from education. So, yeah.
And I see these photos. I want to talk about Tiffany Skylight too. We'll get to that. I see photos of Kaylene and Lauren when I see Goldthread, and it's Kaylene and Lauren. When I watch the video, I see more band members. Who is Goldthread as far as the creative process, the writing process, and also the performing process?
Yeah, and both sides, it's kind of two sides of a coin, two very different things. Goldthread from a writing side has kind of always been myself and Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
We've spent kind of years writing together, and just after being in and out of a couple projects, it's kind of settled on us being the core writing members.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to a performance side, and we try to have as much live as possible. So that, you know, as much, I can't play multiple instruments.
Yeah, even though we tracked a lot of the instruments ourselves, we have to
Yeah.
have somebody, like a body playing it, right? But
yeah,
Right.
But I think, yeah, it's always been you and I, right? And I think that's the heart of the project. And I think like growing up watching like Warped Tour bands and everything, it just seemed like, oh, everybody's a 5-piece. Everybody's, you know, got all of these members kind
like
of
12
contribute.
members on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And sometimes that's just not feasible. And in our case, it's just not, you know, like it's always been us. So I don't.
Yeah, and live performances
Yeah.
are different. You know, like we have like a really solid batch of rotating local like fill-in members that will come with us for shows and for tours and stuff. And you know, it's just, we've kind of just found it's easier that way, you know, just over the years.
Less ego, less schedule
conflicts, less schedule conflicts. Oh my gosh,
all of those are good things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then for the music videos, you know, we really wanted a drummer for like the legacy video, because we just wanted that energy, and there's nothing that like yells energy than someone hitting things with sticks.
Yeah.
So it depends on what we're trying to achieve, just with videos and performances and stuff like that. It kind of varies.
That's cool, but you guys are the core for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about the transition from Keys and Corridors to Goldthread.
So that was kind of a weird timeline, because we fully formed Goldthread, I think right at the start of 2020 was when we were like, okay, everything's switched over, let's go. And then the pandemic hit. So we had all this momentum and all of this stuff kind of in the backlog and just about to start to surface. And then of course, everything shut down. So that's been more of a challenge than anything. Obviously, like that's been hard on everyone. So
yeah, a lot of bands are struggling with that. And it's, you know, we kind of knew that we wanted to switch over to Goldthread before the pandemic, and that's what we were building towards. So I don't know. I think we kind of realized after a couple years of doing Keys and Corridors that we were the core of the band, and we were doing most of the stuff, and we just kind of wanted a fresh start, and the music sounded different and the vibes were different. So we were like, why not just start over? You know, it just makes sense.
Yeah. And you know, I listened to the Keys and Corridors thing. It's a little different. You did change your style too. Was there a reason for that? Did you feel like you had moved out of the Keys and Corridors style?
I feel like honestly, a lot of that was just maturing as you know,
songwriters.
Yeah, exactly. You know, as a guitarist, I think I got better. Like it's not just power chords the whole way through. And you know, like it just changed and evolved with us. So it just felt natural and right. Not to disparage anything we've done in the past, but I think who we are now is better represented.
Yeah. And I think when we first started Keys, we were so excited to be playing music and so excited to be in a band and like get on a stage with like some of our friends. And we weren't really necessarily thinking about the music side of it too much. You know, we were just excited to be playing. So I don't think there was a lot of intentionality with what we were writing.
Yeah.
And I think after a couple of years, we were like, no, we actually care about the music a little bit more, and it's a little different. We wanted to just tell a different story. So
yeah, I mean, I listened to the Keys and Corridor stuff, and I love it. I really like what you did there. But I've heard it before. Yeah, maybe you know, it was not to take away from it at all. But Goldthread, I haven't heard really. It's different. You know, I can fit Keys and Corridors into a genre and a box. I can't really do that with Goldthread. Kind of disturbing, actually.
So now you know the struggle that we have. We're just like, alternative dark.
Yeah.
Pop, that.
I mean, Paramore started calling themselves genre fluid, and I really like that. I'm like, yes, that's the one.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's good that you know I see like you guys and other bands stepping out and trying to be out of the box a little bit. It's creative. It's really great. And with that, you guys are very much lyric people. That is a big part of it. Now, when I listen to music, I usually lyrics are very secondary for me usually. I can listen to instrumentals and jazz, and I don't really concentrate on lyrics, but I think the complete package is when that poetic lyricism meets that fine musicianship. And I think you guys are on that path for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you consider yourselves poets that play music, or musicians that are poets?
Oh man, we might have different answers on this one.
I don't know if we
I'm not, I'll be the first to admit, I am not great at writing lyrics. Like, we can kind of riff on one another.
Mhm.
And, once we get an idea going, I can definitely help contribute and like fine tune things. But when it gets to the really deep, intricate, like poetic lyrics, that's all the psychology major.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's psychology will help with that for sure.
Yeah. I do think that's really interesting. I almost consider being a guitarist kind of secondary. Like I'm not.
Yeah, you like write guitar after you have an idea and funnel it down.
Yeah,
more.
it always.
And then you're like, oh, I just got to add guitar to this, and I'm like, no, give me the guitar first.
Yeah, the poetry of it, that's what I consider first and foremost. Like, yeah.
That's what I figured. I hear that in the music for sure. And I think it was the press release that had this quote, and I want to read it. The purpose of poetry is to remind us how difficult it is to remain just one person. For our house is open, there are no keys in the doors, and invisible guests come in and out at will. That is brilliant. That is poetry right there. Throw a guitar behind it and some keys and we're good. That's fantastic. It is who you guys are, and that is really, it's interesting to listen to and really fascinating when you dive deeper past that music, which was an adventure for me, because like I say, the music hits me first and then the lyrics maybe, and a lot of times they don't. With you guys it did, and I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about Tiffany Skylight, the Chicago Cultural Center. I'm here in Chicago, so
yeah,
I grew up there. That was, I was like, that's
like I know that place.
So it was really cool to see that, and the appreciation and the title of the song. And tell me, I know there's a really interesting story with Tiffany Skylight. It's so cool. I want to talk a little bit about that. But did the Cultural Center, when you were writing the song and thinking about Skylight like that, did the Cultural Center where you filmed it come into play when you were writing it?
That wasn't until after, actually. It was just a really serendipitous thing. We had the song done, and
we knew how important that image was going to be for what the story we were trying to tell. So
and after doing a ton of research, I realized that the Chicago Cultural Center had the largest Tiffany Skylight. And I was like, oh my gosh, we can't.
She's like, we gotta go, right?
We have to do it. And as soon as we got permission and everything from them to film, which I was kind of shocked at.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, this is like, hop in the van, we're going and doing it. Like, we can't pass it up.
That whole music video experience, just all the visuals, I think were kind of like this, almost like bucket list. Because as soon as we got the Skylight, we were like, oh my gosh, how cool would it be to have like a choreographed like dance sequence underneath it, right? And then we found like performers on Instagram.
Yeah, it was one of those music videos where everything just kind of came together really well, and that never happened.
And I'm so happy how it came out. Like it was amazing.
Yeah, but that was all after the
story was written.
After the track, like pretty much after we had the mixes and everything, we were starting to think about the music video, because we knew that it was a story that we wanted to put a music video to. It was it's such a crazy story, it was inspired by we were just listening to a true crime podcast, and they were telling, I don't know if you're better at summing up the story, because it's such a long story and I'll just ramble about it for like 10 minutes.
Okay, so you want the the cliff
The
notes?
Cliff Notes.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the Cliff Notes?
Okay, so we wrote the song about a man. It's a true story about a man named John List, who basically was this high rolling guy. He had a mansion in like the suburbs, and his wife was, like keeping up with the Joneses. They had kids. Everybody was super happy in this big old house. And then he loses his job. And instead of admitting it and, just trying to find a different thing to do, he basically keeps up this facade of all this money and power, and he's basically just like sitting on a park bench every day, 9 to 5 in a suit, right? Because he's trying to keep up this appearance. And then, and this is where it gets dark, he decides instead of telling the family that the money was gone, he decides instead that he's going to go kill them. So he goes in his house and he murders his entire family, and then he leaves. And he doesn't get caught for like 30 years. But
something crazy.
And he leaves the bodies in the house, and he puts them in this giant ballroom that they had, because it's this huge mansion, right?
They never even used.
Yeah,
apparently.
it was just completely empty, void of all furniture. He lays the bodies down underneath this Tiffany Skylight in the ballroom. And the most wild thing about that was the skylight itself was worth more than the debt that he accrued. So all of that,
all of it was for nothing. So much senseless tragedy for nothing. And we took that whole story and we twisted it. And if you listen to the song and you don't know the story, you would listen to it like it was a love song. And then you find out when you find out what it's about, you're like, oh man, that's dark.
Yeah.
And then you listen to it through a completely different lens. And that was the piece of the storytelling that we loved the most about that song.
We were like, how crazy would it be if we wrote a song that's like, come on, we can keep up this appearance, come on, like let's just keep going, let's just this is fine, right? Everything's fine, right? And like that's the vibe of the lyric. We almost like took the position of his wife, like kind of talking about like, we can keep this up, like this is a lifestyle that we can sustain. And it's like, no, you can't.
So that whole song and video is just crazy. And
it's that whole thing. The whole thing. The video is just so monumental. How you got that kind of access is beyond.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was wild. It was still like when we were filming, the building was still open to the public. So people kept peeking their heads and be like, "What's going on in there?"
Wow.
It was so weird. We'd have to stop a shot because someone would like walk up the staircase and be in the back of a shot. What's going on up here? It was crazy.
That is nuts because they don't really, they're pretty strict with the building, cultural center type buildings. It's gorgeous. Go watch the video, check it out. It's amazing for Tiffany Skylight. And that story, it's tragic. It's dark. It's,
for sure.
But what a story. His solution was above his head and he didn't even know it. Just crazy. Really, really great that you took that and made such a song and video with it. I really enjoy it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Tell me about the EP. The title, Dear Icarus. You don't have a song called Dear Icarus. So that title comes from somewhere. Where does the title come from?
So we kind of made the EP a little bit of a loose concept album. That was just something that we wanted to do for a long time. So we basically wrote it around the cycle of like death and rebirth. That's where we were as artists, kind of ending one project and starting another. Of course, we felt that in life just as humans. Mm-hmm. And we really loved tying in the idea of the Icarus myth and talking about, using that imagery of him, falling from the sky because he flew too close to the sun. So even though nothing is titled Dear Icarus, it's kind of peppered in the whole way through. So we kind of tried to reference, wax wings kind of burning up and then falling down and then kind of rising from the ashes again at the end of the EP with the song called Phoenix. So it's kind of layered in the whole way through.
Yeah. And then there's this like weird little halfway track that's called We Can Almost See the Sun, which is like that moment of kind of coming back from the ashes and like starting to rebuild. So it's a loose concept album for sure, but it was in there so much and it was so close to what we were trying to do at the time and what we were writing and what we were channeling that it
felt
made
right.
so much
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool to hear the spoken word recordings in there.
Yeah.
And it kinda, that gives it that concept feel.
Yeah.
It makes me look further into the record, which is really cool. What would you like everybody to know about Goldthread? You're out here, you're doing music, you're doing what you like to do, you're doing the style you want to do it. What do you want people to know about the band?
It's a tough one.
Is that the look that you want me to go first?
Oh, that was my thinking look.
You get that look a lot.
I didn't know I had that look. That like.
Oh God. Oh man.
I mean, honestly, I'm just happy if people are listening.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled when people take that extra step, to like dive into the songs and figure out what they're about, because I feel like we spend a lot of time crafting a meaning behind each song and something that's really important to us. So, that if someone is listening, and not only just listening, but taking the step to, I don't know, to just dive further into the song, then that to me is like the core of writing and creativity that I would hope that people kind of latch onto.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Where would you like to see Goldthread in 5 years? Not everybody's in it for the fame and the fortune. Some people just want to create and be where they are. And, what about you guys?
I mean, I would love to be touring. I think that'd be so much fun, being able to like connect with more people. As honestly though, as long as we're still writing and still, coming up with things that we love, that's what it's been about the whole time. So, opportunities and success and stuff, that'd be great if they were around. But as long as we're still writing music that we love, I'm happy. So.
That's good. Aside from Goldthread, is there a life scenario that you dream about? Is it the house on the cliff in Malibu, playing Goldthread for millions of people? Is it staying where you are in Akron?
I don't know. I feel like such a nomad with all that kind of stuff, just because
I know.
I'm like, I don't know, man.
Like nothing is concrete if the wind blows blowing.
That's good. That's a good thing. Don't plan it out. You guys are spontaneous, and you definitely have the chemistry together. It's really cool. You guys would like to tour. Are there any plans? I know Kaylene's busy.
Yeah. Honestly, that's the big thing right now.
The
is
Plus
like
girls keep busy, which is awesome.
The Plus girls keep busy.
We're so happy for them. So
they're crazy talented.
I told Barbara, your publicist, I said, I don't know if I want to do this interview with Kaylene, because I don't want to like her. I'm so envious, because I'm a photographer as well. I'm a professional photographer. So I see you out there, and I see all those great images, and I see, you doing this great thing. It's really, I'm excited.
I just want to hate her. I want to keep being
right. That's what I said.
That's how I feel about bands sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to like these people. Like, I'm so jealous of what you're doing. I don't want to like you.
Well, I gotta tell you, not only do I like you, I adore you guys.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. I appreciate you stopping in, and let everybody go get Dear Icarus, listen to it, watch the Tiffany Skylight video. It's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens in 5, 6, 10, 20 years for you guys.
Me too.
I am excited to hear more music. Are you working on more music? I know you're both probably extremely busy. Is more music on the way?
Yeah,
we're trying to.
It's kind of a constant refining process. Like we have one song on that EP that we wrote like 7 years ago that just always stuck around. So there's
sometimes
always,
it takes a second to percolate.
Yeah, so it's gotta marinate for a little bit. There's, we have a bunch of stuff. We record with people up in Canada. So, you know, obviously for the last 2 years, the border situation has been really tight.
Yeah.
So we haven't really had a chance. We like demo a bunch of stuff in our home studio and try to get as much down as possible. So we're always kind of working on stuff. It's just about when we can get the final polishing, finishing touches on stuff and head to the studio. So that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it for sure. And Kaylene, I'll see you on the road.
Yeah.
You know, you're coming into Chicago. I'm going to try and hit Milwaukee and Chicago. And I thought about that Canada date, but because of that reason, I don't know if I'm going to, you know, drive the 8 hours or whatever it is.
Well, I think we got switched to Detroit now. So
yeah.
yeah, they were like, nah.
So definitely. Thanks again so much, Kaylene, Lauren. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for having us.
All right. I will talk to you soon. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right. Bye.